is Bee Swarm Simulator, a game that somehow survived the death of the simulator trend. It's got a nice art style that doesn't flashbang your eyes with god-awful saturation, has an amazing soundtrack, and keeps you hooked with their challenging quests. I have 28 days on this game and I have yet to complete Spirit Bear's quests. Do you know what other good things Bee Swarm has? Merchandise. In 2021, 3 official Bee Swarm plushies were made available for you to buy. Usually Roblox merchandise misses the mark on quality, but these actually look really nice. To be fair, it's hard to mess up cubes, basically, but I mean, these things exist, so anything is possible. Wow, I really want one. Too bad you can't buy them anymore. I'm just 4 years late to the party, and all that's left are bootlegs. But you know what else exists? The various cute handmade plushies of other bees that people have made. Look at how cute these are. I can so do this too. I mean, how hard can it be to make my own bee plushies? Well, today I'm going to attempt to make 2 of these little bugs. I hope you enjoy, and subscribe if you want more. Let's get started. Every plush is made of a pattern, the blueprint. There are various ways to make a pattern, but the method I'm going to use involves 3D models. So here I am in Roblox Studio. I'm going to head to the toolbox and get a model of the bee. That was totally not stolen from the original game. And I export that model out of Roblox Studio and import it into Blender. Roblox models are made of different parts or pieces, with faces hidden from view. To make a clean sewing pattern, we need to get rid of these hidden faces. So using the model as a base, I go over it to make a more workable mesh. The main problem with the original model was having these stripes as their own pieces, so I make it one whole rectangle with 2 loop cuts in the middle. The wings in the original model are just one long rectangle stabbed into the middle of the bee, so I split those up on the sides. I keep the wings separated from the base model since it would be easier to attach these pieces after the body was finished. Plus, this avoids having to make any awkward cuts in the middle of any fabric pieces. I delete this interface on the wings since it's where the wings are going to be sewn to the body, aka out of view, aka we don't need to waste fabric by having a side here. Once the model is complete, I bring it into a browser program called Plushify. I use Plushify to play with the seams of my project. This is a very boxy model, so my pieces won't be too confusing to put together. And so I start creating my seams. And if you're wondering why the model keeps going from red to white, that's the program simulating how accurate the final plush will look to the original model based on the seams I gave it. Red means it will look nothing like the model. White means it will look near identical / exact to the model. These are the pieces I end up with. In total, there are 9 pieces to put together. I'm also able to assign colors to the pieces on top of adding markings, which I use to add the bee's face. Now I need to decide on what bee I'm going to make. Yeah, no, I'm not making this greedy bastard a plush, he already has one. Based on the fabric I already had on hand, the bees I went with plushifying was the gummy bee and the baby bee. The gummy bee is just one of my favorite bees, so it was a given. And the baby bee because look at that face, aww. And I wanted to see how well the pattern worked at a different size. I did not want to choose any bees with additional features of fear of messing them up, so maybe next time? Here's what all of those pieces will look like cut out. If you're wondering what these are for, it'll make more sense later on. By the way, Plushify runs off of community donations to keep this free resource up, so I heavily encourage donating if you're able to. After printing out all of my pieces, I cut them out and get ready to assemble my plushies. Before we start any kind of sewing, we have to give these bees their beautiful visages. How do we do that? Well, to get them as close to the official plushies as possible, I'm going to be embroidering them. First, I trace the faces on this transparent film. The plushies are going to be made with minky fabric, which has this soft, furry-like surface. So the film helps keep the fur flat, on top of being my guide while embroidering. I start off with the gummy bee and get it all set up in my hoop. And I begin the meticulous process of outlining and filling in all of the shapes. It was a lot of surface area for me to cover and takes ages of hand stitching. After spending hours filling in the face, I got an idea. See, I want to make an outline around the filled shapes just like the official plushies. But that would take me even longer if I did it by hand. But what if I had a machine do the work for me? My sewing machine, mayhaps? I remove the presser foot on the machine, invert the arrangement in my hoop, and get that under my needle. Using a zigzag stitch, I move the hoop under the needle to make the outlines. I am also ignoring all cries of help that are coming from my sewing machine. worked really well. Getting over the initial fear of potentially stabbing my fingers did help with my confidence in moving the hoop, except I ran out of the color I was using while outlining the mouth. It would look too out of place to use a different color, and this exact color was from a kit I bought, and I didn't want to drop a ton of money on a kit when I still had the rest of the colors, so I choose to move on and ignore it like all of my other problems. I thought using the sewing machine to embroider was so successful, I tried embroidering Baby Bee's face like this, and it was definitely a lot faster than doing it by hand, only taking 1 full hour in total. And I think it looks really nice. It's still a little rough around the edges, but I'm sure with practice I'll get the hang of it. I just don't want to drop thousands of dollars on an embroidering machine. No, thank you. Okay, now we get to the actual sewing part. Starting off with the wing pieces. The wings are made of these 2 pieces. First, I sew in these corners on the top piece of the wing. Once that's done, it's a matter of sewing in these 3 edges together, making sure to keep this side open. And it's really easy to achieve by either hand sewing or machine sewing, since it's just straight edges. And soon I have 4 bee wings. Now you may be wondering how these are going to be able to stick out straight like in the original model, or keep their rectangular shape. But I have a cheap and easy solution. Felt. Felt is a really sturdy and cheap fabric, and using the bottom wings pattern pieces, I cut out 3 squares of felt per wing and glued 3 of them together with some fabric glue. Once these are dry, I slip them into the wings, and now the wings shouldn't droop and they keep their rectangular shape. Ta-da! Now onto the main attraction, the main body of the bee, the meat of this plush. And before sewing any of the pieces together, I'm going to make a form to go inside of the plush. If I were to sew the body and then stuff it like normal, it would become round, which we do not want happening. Basically, I'm going to be making a form that goes inside of the plush to keep its rectangular shape using more felt. And this pattern, cutting out 2 of the square pieces per bee and 4 rectangle pieces per bee. Run out of a color? You could always use a different color, because this is going on the inside of the plush where no one will see. Using a whip stitch, I sew all of the big rectangular pieces together on their long sides. And then sew in the square sides. But leave 1 opening to stuff the project. And then close that off. Now we have these really ugly stuffed rectangles. And we could put these aside to sew the actual plush bodies. These body pieces have 5 pieces in total. The face, the back piece, and each of the bee's stripes. First off, I cut out the stripes. Pinning or clipping 2 of my stripes together, I join them together using a straight stitch, and then I do that again for the 3rd piece. Giving me a very long rectangle. The gummy bee has 2 pink stripes and 1 cyan stripe, and the baby bee has a gray, blue, and white stripe. Once together, I take both ends and sew them together. Giving me this funny tube-looking cylinder shape. After that, I meticulously clip in the back and the front ends and sew them together, but I leave a bottom side open to stuff my rectangle in. I definitely would have done this differently because I struggled to get this piece inside. I had to cut open a little hole here, unstuff it a little bit, and once I got that inside the bee, I had to restuff the rectangle that was already stuffed into the bee. So fun. To accentuate the corners, I pad them with even more stuffing, and then I close off the seam with a ladder stitch. Now it's time to sew on the wings. For each wing, I position them and pin them to the piece to keep them from moving, and then it's a matter of ladder stitching all around the wing. And this part can be really satisfying for moments like this. Doesn't that just itch your brain in the right place? And after doing this for all 4 wings, I am proud to present My very own beesworm plushies! I am just... wow. I love these little guys so much. They keep their shape really nicely and they're so throwable.
What about you being built like a bus driver?
What about you being built like the bus?
I'm really happy with how this project came together. They honestly did not take long to make. I made both of these in under a week combined, and I think they're pretty beginner-friendly plushies since there's no curves to sew. If you're interested to get these plush patterns for yourself, I am proud to announce I have a Ko-Fi. I'm going to be adding more things in the future, but for now, if you want to download and use this pattern, I will have them linked below. Both files will come with the Plushify pattern as well as the Plushify file, so if you want to make any alterations for yourself or adjust the sizing, go for it. And that's all I have to say for now. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.